So metals and non-metals. This part is divided into three parts. Again, this chapter is divided into three parts. First part is physical and chemical properties of the metals and non-metals. Till now, you have class 8th, class 9th, you have learned the physical properties of metals and non-metals, and few chemical properties you have learned. So in detail, we are learning the chemical properties. Physical properties, what you have learned earlier, the same thing is there. So physical and chemical properties of metals and non-metals is the first part of the chapter. Then second part is how metals combine with non-metals. That is the ionic bond, how the compound formation takes place, how ionic bonds are formed and properties of ionic compounds we have to learn. And the third part is extraction of metals, how metals get extracted from there. Some few of the metals it is explained, not in much detail. A few reactions has been explained in the last part. That is how the extraction, at least actually the outline of that is given. It is not much in detail, but yes, it is given some extraction, the general idea about how the metals have been extracted from the minerals. That part is explained. So that part is the important part. Actually, that part is most important part of this chapter. And chemical equations. So we are starting with the first, metals and non-metals, physical properties and chemical properties. So this is a recall of the earlier classes, what you have learned. So metals and non-metals. What are metals and non-metals?
Metals are the substance which show metallic property like luster, uh, luster, malleability, uh, malleability,
Yes.
etc.
Okay, right. There are many other properties. All we have to see. Give me a second. My pen is not working. That's right. So metals and non-metals. Actually, these are the categorization of the elements. Last year, you have learned elements, compounds, and mixtures. So out of that, what are elements? What are elements?
Ma'am,
Yes.
a substance that has a single type of atom constituting it.
Okay, kinds of same kind of atoms. The substance, the pure substance, pure form of a substance which is made up of similar kind of atoms, then that is called as element. Now these elements further, depending on the physical and chemical properties, it has been divided into four types. So one is metal. The largest part, largest group of elements are called as the metals. Second one, second one is non-metals. Then third one is metalloids, and the fourth one are inert gases. So first categorization, elements are divided into four parts. One is metal, second one is non-metal, then metalloids, and fourth one is inert gases or noble gases. Now, how, on which basis this categorization has been done? So for that categorization, you have learned some physical and some chemical properties. So how the metals has been separated from all of them. So how this categorization has been done. What is the basis of this categorization? Anyone have idea?
Ma'am, can I try?
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm not sure, but I think it's based on physical properties such as like metals have luster, but non-metals don't have luster. Metals are good electrical conductors, but non-metals are like bad electric conductors. Is it based on that?
That is one of the part. Okay. Any other? Anyone knows?
Losing and gaining of electrons.
Yes, exactly. So properly, that is one of the part basic structure. Basically, by using the physical properties, we have categorized metals and non-metals. Another criteria, the actual basis on which these elements have been separated from each other, that is their properties, metallic properties, non-metallic characters, on basis of that, and chemical reactivity part. So these elements have been divided into metals, non-metals, metalloids, or noble gases or inert gases. That is the substances which have 1, 2, or 3 electrons in their valence shell. They have the ability to lose electrons. So elements, atoms of which elements have the property to lose electrons and form positively charged ions, all are considered under metal category. And whatever the physical properties you will see, so that is also similar, depends on that part. Second, and that is the physical properties are also the criteria. Along with that, how the metalloids and inert gases have been separated, that is actually the chemically they have been separated. So non-metals, what are non-metals? Non-metal atoms of non-metals has the property of gaining electrons. So generally all of these metals have the property, have 5 or 6 or 7 electrons in their valence shell. And due to that, they have the ability to gain electrons, and after gaining, they will form negatively charged ions. So such elements are considered under non-metals. Now, what are metalloids? Metalloids generally have the properties intermediate between metals as well as non-metal. We cannot consider them completely metals, and we cannot consider them completely non-metals. That means actually they have the ability of both. Sometimes they will gain or sometimes they can lose electrons. And due to which their all the properties, chemical properties if we consider, or physical properties are intermediate. So that means they possess few properties which are similar to metals, but those properties are not as strong as metals, and they are not completely as weak as non-metals also. In such cases, in such properties, they are not very strong. If you consider the case of conductivity, so these are conductors. We cannot say that is they are not in. Generally, electrical conductivity of metals is high, and the non-metals are insulators. So metals are good conductors, and non-metals are insulators. And intermediate of that is the metalloid. So that means metalloids they are conductors, but not as good as metals, and they are not insulators also as like non-metals. The properties are intermediate between the metal as well as non-metals. So they possess some of the metallic properties, and some of the non-metallic properties also they possess. So therefore those are metalloids. And what are inert or noble gases? So these gases, these substances are present in the form of gas, so therefore it is a gas, noble gas or inert gas. And they are completely chemically inert. Chemically they do not take part in any chemical reactions because they have completely filled octet or duplet. So these generally do not take part in any chemical reaction, as well as these are in the gaseous state always. They are found in the gaseous state. So therefore they are called as inert or noble gases. Is the main difference clear between all four categories?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so one by one, metals and non-metals, physical difference we will see, and then the chemical difference we will see. So physically, so write down first this part. Metals, atoms of metals.
Should we make it like a table?
Yeah, table if you can make it, it will be easier for you to remember also. Atoms of metals have 1, 2, or 3 electrons in their valence shell. Therefore, they have ability to lose electron. And form cation. Atoms of nonmetals have 5, 6, or 7 electrons in their valence shell. Therefore, they have ability to gain electrons and form anions. These have properties intermediate between metals and non-metals. That is, few properties of metals and few of non-metals. And chemically, these have completely filled valence shells, hence do not take part in any chemical reaction. And found mostly in gaseous state. Mostly all are in the gaseous state only. Completed?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
Inert gases are usually in form of atoms, right?
Yeah, so this monovalent they are.
Okay.
Monoatomic, sorry, not monovalent, monoatomic.
Okay, ma'am.
Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So we have to see the difference between the physical and chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Physical properties first. One by one, we will see the physical properties now. Difference comparing metals and non-metals according to physical properties. Metals, non-metals. First one by one, you know everything. Now nothing new here. First difference,
Metal are lustrous and non-metals are not lustrous.
metals are lustrous, non-metals are non-lustrous.
Ma'am,
Plus,
metals are
yeah, 1 second. Lustrous means, what do you mean by lustrous?
Shine. Shine.
Golden yellow color.
Shine. Yeah, they have shine, silvery or grayish shine, or gold and copper has a gold has yellow shine and copper has brown shine, and all other metals generally have gray shine, that is silvery shine we can consider. So that is a luster they possess. And non-lustrous, non-metals are do not possess any luster. Actually, very few metals are non-metals are found in the solid state. So solid state non-metals which are in the solid state, which of them do you know? Do you know which non-metals are in solid state?
carbon.
Carbon is in solid state, right? And any
Helium.
other? No, it is not non-metal.
Ma'am, sodium.
Iodine, right? It is in this one solid state. Sodium is metal here.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so
Phosphorus.
phosphorus, yes, right? Yes, phosphorus is also it is in solid state. Carbon, phosphorus, sulfur. Sulfur is one more, and iodine. So these are the non-metals only found in the solid state, but these are not hard solids. All are brittle. These are solid, but they are brittle. In that non-lustrous we have seen, but non-metal, most of the non-metal possess exceptions are there for all the properties actually, most of the properties. So non-lustrous, but exceptions for this is iodine. Iodine, though it is found in the form of crystal, but it possesses shine. And the second one, carbon, is in the form of diamond. Carbon, when it is in the form of diamond, it possesses luster, and that you know. Most lustrous substance we can consider it as. So diamond is lustrous, which is a form of carbon, allotrope of carbon. Carbon found in different forms. One form, there are crystalline form and amorphous form, that is in the powdered form. Crystalline form are graphite and diamond. Out of that, diamond possess shine. Okay, so this is the exceptions. Then second one. Yes, Vishnu, you are telling some the second one.
Oh, ma'am. Okay, malleability.
Okay, malleability. Malleability means
Ma'am, they can be made into sheets.
yeah, beaten into thin sheets. Beaten into thin sheets we can make it. Aluminium foil you have seen, gold foils we have seen, silver foils, which generally silver which is found in sweet so packing sweets or covering the sweets, we use silver. So silver sheets or aluminium sheets for wrapping food we are using it. That is because of malleability part. Then here non-metals are non-malleable, and there is no exception for this. Then third one is
Ductility.
metals
Metals make metallic.
Sonar. Okay, ductility. Metals are ductile. Metals are ductile. That means drawn. They can be drawn into thin wires. And here non-metals are non-ductile. Then fourth one, sonority.
Good conductors of
They make a metallic sound.
Okay, sonorous, ringing sound. Produce ringing sound when struck hard.
And non-metals are non-sonorous.
Non-metals are non-sonorous. Yes, Shreya? Yes, Shreya, you're telling something?
Ma'am, they were good conductors of electricity.
Yes, good conductors of electricity, electric current,
Is a bad conductor.
and heat also. And here they're non-conductors. Non-conductors of electricity and heat. Exception. Exceptions for this non-conductors. Non-metals are, yes,
And
graphite. Graphite is an exception.
And what about sulfur?
No, sulfur do not conduct.
Okay.
Graphite is a exception for electricity, and for heat there is one more is there. Okay, yes, Janvi, next point. Now, good conductor of heat. Diamond is a good conductor of heat. Diamond is good conductor of heat. Here one first part you have left, that is these are generally hard solid. And this one, these are mostly gaseous. And whichever are in solid, those are brittle. Whichever are in solid state, those are brittle or amorphous form, that is a powdered form. Very easily you can crush them. But for metals, there is an exception for this property. Exceptions. What is the exception here? Hard solid exception. Mercury is in the liquid state.
And what about potassium
Yes, sodium and potassium.
and cesium and gallium?
Sodium and potassium can be cut easily with knife. These are very soft. And one more exception is there. That is an exception for low melting point also. In case of cesium and gallium. So these are the two metals which are can be easily melt. So that means they are solid state but soft solids easily melt. Here liquid non-metal. Bromine. Bromine is a liquid non-metal and liquid metal is a solid mercury. Okay, sorry, this is 6th. 7th one, they have high melting and boiling point. Generally, all the metals have high melting and boiling points. But there are exception is cesium and gallium. And sodium potassium also. Exception is cesium and gallium. They have low melting point. Actually, they have so low, that means it is actually 30 degrees Celsius. 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. So at room temperature, if we keep them on our palm, immediately they will start melting. So our body heat is enough for them to melt into, to melt. So cesium and gallium are the metals. It can be asked for 1 mark question. Name the metals which can be easy, which have low melting point, or which can melt when kept on palm. So those are cesium and gallium. Their melting point is 30 degrees Celsius, 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. And even sodium and potassium also, their melting point is 98 degrees Celsius. Approx 97 to 98 degrees Celsius is the melting point of sodium and potassium, which is much, much lesser as compared to other metals. Other metals, approximately they have above 1500 degrees Celsius temperature. They will melt, but these are very low. Here, for non-metals, low melting and boiling point. Eighth one, high density. These have low density. High tensile strength. What do you mean by tensile strength?
Is it like elasticity?
No, it's not elasticity. So metal possesses elasticity. Yes, anyone knows tensile strength?
Ma'am, it cannot be broken easily.
Yeah, which cannot be broken easily. So whatever the weight, if you put on these metals, they won't break easily. They can carry that weight very easily without breaking. Just like you can take the example of iron is a most tensile material we consider as. So that's the reason it is used in building construction of buildings, construction of bridges. So on the bridges, you have seen that's how many tons of weight has been moved over it, but still it won't collapse. So that is because of the tensile strength of iron.
So in the non-metals, there should be an exception of diamond, right?
Yeah, diamond, but it can be, we can either, this one, that's carrying a weight, it will be somewhat, yeah, it is a hardest substance. Yeah, that can be considered. But tensile strength is carrying a load. So is it possible that it will carry a load?
No.
That's the reason we are not considering it. So, but it is the hard substance. To cut the diamonds are only used. Other substance we cannot use.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these are the differences according to physical properties. So here is one thing you need to know, that is good conductor of electricity in metal. In metal side, good conductor of electricity is best conductor of electricity is the silver, and will after that the copper will come, and the poorest conductor is metal, which is the poorest conductor or poor conductor of electricity.
Platinum.
No, they are good conductors. Poorest. So poor conductor and poorest conductor. Poorest is lead and poor is mercury. No, gold is not. So lead is the poorest conductor of electricity. It will conduct, but it is very less. And the second one is mercury. Above that is mercury. Mercury is somewhat better than lead. So you need to remember those. So we'll write all the exceptions again. So first write down this all. Completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Everyone completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Now some important points from this.
Yes, ma'am.
So important points to remember from this part, write it down. Some exceptions. Hard solids. Metals are hard solids and have high melting point. Have high melting point and boiling point. Exception for this is sodium, potassium. They're very soft, easily cut with knife. Can be easily cut with knife and have low melting and boiling point. Cesium, gallium, low melting point and boiling point. They melt on palm. Second one, non-lustrous non-metals. Exception for this, iodine. Then graphite, being non-metal, conducts current. Diamond, being non-metal, is hardest substance. Poorest conductor of heat is lead and mercury. Liquid metal, mercury. Liquid non-metal, bromine. Completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we have to study the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. First is reaction with oxygen. So first with metals. Metals generally react with oxygen and form metal oxide and they form metal oxide only. So metal generally react with oxygen and form metal oxide. But the reaction with oxygen depends depending on their reactivity series. Some react at room temperature, at normal temperature. Some needs to be heated strongly. Some needs to, they won't burn. Some of the metals do not burn, but only react vigorously. They react, but they won't burn. Burn, that means reacting vigorously and forming fire, you can consider as a, or flames, production of a flame will not take place. Some immediately the flame is produced, they burn very vigorously and flame is produced. And some of the metals which are low reactive metals are there. So those react with oxygen, form oxide, metal oxide is formed, but they do not burn. That means they do not form any flame. So only the outer surface of that get coated with the oxide form. The metal oxide get coated over it. So that decides its reactivities. So according to reactivity wise, if we keep checking. So sodium and potassium react vigorously with oxygen as soon as you take out. So generally these metals are stored under kerosene because those are highly reactive. So they react with oxygen as well as water so vigorously, that is to prevent this reactions, and preserve them under the native state, that is that metallic state, to prevent that reactions, then keep them in their native state. They are generally stored under kerosene. So these metals, as soon as they have taken out of the kerosene, means in air itself, they immediately react with the oxygen and form metal oxide. So sodium combines with oxygen and forms sodium oxide, Na2O.
Ma'am, do they produce flames?
Yes, they produce flame. Same with potassium. Sodium burns with yellow flame. 2K2O, potassium oxide is formed. So these two react with oxygen vigorously at room temperature. Calcium also, but not vigorously. Calcium reacts with oxygen, but slowly, not very vigorously, and forms calcium oxide. Not vigorously. Magnesium cannot combine at room temperature. It needs to be heated. First we have to keep it, means it has to be increase its temperature. Magnesium temperature has to be increased. We have to heat it, then only magnesium combines with oxygen and forms magnesium oxide, and white dazzling flame is produced after heating. It needs heating, so it won't combine at room temperature. It has to be heated. We have to keep it on a burning sphincter. When we keep it, then only it will reach its ignition temperature and burns with oxygen, forming white dazzling flame. White dazzling flame is formed. Then so that's for this way we have decided. This is the, by seeing these reactions only, the reactivity series is formed. Then after magnesium, if we check aluminium.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, but if we take a magnesium ribbon at any given point, we rub it at sandpaper because of the deposit of magnesium oxide, right?
Slowly it reacts with atmospheric oxygen.
Oh.
Slowly, layer by layer, not the full. And here we are considering about the full metal.
Oh, okay, understood now. Thank you.
So that is aluminium also the same thing happened. When aluminium is also exposed to air, it slowly, layer by layer, it combines with oxygen and gets converted into oxide form. Oxide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So aluminium burns in air on heating. So we have to heat it, then only on heating, only aluminium combines with oxygen, burns in oxygen, form aluminium oxide. So balancing is 4Al plus 3O2. So 2Al2O3. Then zinc also. Zinc also needs strong heating, then only it will combine with oxygen and form zinc oxide. Strong heating is needed. Iron also, very strong heating is needed. It won't burn, but only react. Iron metal generally won't burn it. But when sprinkles of iron fillings, that is a very dust of iron, very small thin particles of iron, when we throw it into the burning sphincter, they will react with oxygen forming. Now, when it is oxygen iron reacts with oxygen, it will form both, it shows variable valency. So therefore it will form both the oxides, FeO also and Fe2O3 also. Mixture of both the oxide is formed, which is called as Fe3O4. Fe3O4 is a representation of two compounds of oxides, that two valency oxides, FeO and Fe2O3 both. So therefore, it is always written Fe3O4 instead of FeO dot Fe2O3. Both are same only. There is no difference. It is a mixture of iron oxide, both the iron oxides. Okay. Copper do not burn but get coated with copper oxide. You have seen in the first chapter. Copper, when strongly heated, it gets coated with copper oxide, black color copper oxide. Get coated with black color copper oxide. Okay. Now these metals, when these metal oxides, there are some properties of metal oxides we have to learn. First one, some of the metal oxide. Some metal oxides dissolve in water and forms metal hydroxide. Those are called as, what are those called as? Some metal oxides which dissolve in water and form metal hydroxides. What are those called as?
Metal hydroxide.
No. They have given the special name. Just few days back we have learned. Yes, anyone?
Metal salt.
No. Oxide, how it will be salt? No, cannot be.
Basis.
No,
Metal plus oxygen.
no. Yes, Tanya?
No, I don't know. I guess it is alkali.
Exactly right. It's alkali. Most of the metal oxides are basic in nature, and these bases, when dissolved in water, they only convert into hydroxides. So such metal oxides, those substances are called as alkali. All metal oxides are basic in nature. So we have done the activity for this. How to explain this by activity, that is metal oxides are basic in nature? How can we say?
When metal oxides react with water, they form metal hydroxide, which is hydronium. Hyd, uh, hydroxide ions.
Yeah, but with the help of activities, we have to explain this. Then what activity we have to show?
As bases react.
No.
Ma'am, the
Activity.
magnesium ribbon burning.
Please explain.
Ma'am, first we have to take a magnesium ribbon and then we have to heat it. So it forms a white dazzling light, and then below that we have to keep it a small petri dish. After the ash there will be MgO, ma'am, magnesium oxide. So you have to dilute the magnesium oxide, and then when we test it with a litmus paper, we get red. It turns red litmus into blue. So we get to know it's a base.
Yes, right. So collect any metal oxide by any process. If we able to collect the metal oxide, dissolve it in water, mix with the water, and that solution check it with the litmus paper. If the litmus paper changes, litmus paper will change from red to blue. So this means that aqueous solution of that metal oxide, is basic in nature. And by that way, if all the metal oxides has been tested, aqueous solution of all metal oxides, when it is tested, it founds to be, they are all are turning red litmus blue. Hence all metal oxides are basic in nature. So when the question is asked to explain with the help of activity, you are explaining the same what right now Raghav has explained. Is it clear? Now there is some exceptions for this also. Generally, all metal oxides are basic in nature, but out of those, few of them are basic in nature as well as those are acidic in nature also. So those are acidic in nature also. So such compounds we call as amphoteric. So such metal oxides are called as amphoteric. Few metal oxides, that is very important point, the third point you have to mention. Few metal oxides are basic as well as acidic in nature. Such metal oxides are called amphoteric. Amphoteric oxides. Example are the metals which reacts with base. Which metals react with base?
Non-metallic
No,
oxide.
metal. Which metals reacts with base?
Aluminium,
Aluminium,
zinc,
zinc,
Sodium.
lead. Aluminium, zinc and lead reacts with bases. They generally react with base, and the oxides of this are either acidic as well as basic. Aluminium oxide, zinc oxide and lead oxide. These are amphoteric oxides.
What about sodium, ma'am?
How sodium? Sodium reacts with metal, base. Sodium reacts with any other base?
No, ma'am.
No. So these are amphoteric oxides because these can react with acids as well as bases. All the metal oxides are basic in nature because another reason is they react with acid to form salt and water. So these have the property of neutralizing acid. So hence they shows basic properties. First one. And the second one, that is these metal oxides. So these three have the ability to react with bases also to form salt and water. So therefore, these metal oxides are considered as acidic as well as basic. So why these are amphoteric oxide? Because these oxides react with both acid as well as base to form salt and water. This means these oxides have the ability to neutralize acid as well as bases. So hence they show acidic as well as basic property. So we have to see the reaction between aluminum oxide and zinc oxide also with acids and bases. So first about Al2O3. So aluminum oxide, generally this is basic because it reacts with acid. When it reacts with hydrochloric acid, it will form AlCl3 plus H2O. When aluminum combines with hydrochloric acid, it will form AlCl3, aluminum chloride plus water. So it is 2, this is 6, so 3H2O. Okay, and so here aluminum oxide neutralizes acid. Hence shows basic behavior, basic nature. And aluminum oxide reacts with sodium hydroxide also. So it will form, what does it will form with salt? NaAlO2, sodium aluminate plus water. Sodium aluminate is also a salt. So here aluminum oxide neutralizes base to form salt and water. Hence, it shows acidic behavior. Is it clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
And the same thing for zinc also, zinc oxide. Zinc oxide combines with, I will give you time to write them. Zinc oxide reacts with HCl, so it will form zinc chloride plus water. So here it is an acid, it neutralizes acid, so zinc oxide is basic in nature. But it has the property of combining with sodium hydroxide also. Here it will form Na2ZNO2 plus H2O. Now here it neutralized base, so therefore zinc oxide is acidic in nature. Is this clear now? And this amphoteric oxide part is asked for 2 marks or sometimes 3 marks also they have asked. What are amphoteric oxides? Why are they called so? Give example and justify with equation. So any one of the equations you have to write, not both of them. Sometimes they will explain. You need to know aluminum oxide reaction also and zinc oxide reaction also, because they can sometimes they will mention the name by taking the example of aluminum oxide. Explain the amphoteric nature of aluminum oxide with the help of chemical equations, or explain the amphoteric nature of zinc oxide with the help of chemical reactions. So you need to know both the reactions, and there you have to explain both the reactions. Is it clear? Till which part have you written? From this, write it down.
Ma'am,
Yes.
could you repeat the last part you told, and how do you prove that a particular thing is amphoteric oxide?
Reaction with acid and base.
So you should just write the reaction with
Write
acid
the
and base,
reactions,
right?
yes.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. This is a 1 marker or 2 marker, ma'am?
3 marker.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Could you scroll down? Thank you.
Completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then we will stop science and maths part now.
The test is for 1 hour, right?
Half an hour.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, what time is the test tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 4 to 5.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.